Hello, everybody. Hope everybody is having a good week, despite what's been happening in the news. And this week, I know this episode is getting out a little bit late, but this one is kind of a long one. This is going to be a compilation of all the different skills that I've been writing about over the past few weeks, all the skills that I think going forward filmmakers will need to succeed in this current environment and also the coming environment. So kind of the way I see it is if you are not independently wealthy or already have deep access into the film industry and you want to do really out there creative work that really speaks to you and is really individual, these are the skills that you are going to need. You are going to have to make a choice of whether you want to essentially be an employee for hire for a studio to make what they want, which will likely pay well, but it's all going to look the same. I mean, we're already kind of seeing it there's a documentary about Melania, and we're still probably going to get a lot of different Marvel movies and Star Wars series. Right now, large studios are interested in making content, not TV shows and movies. There'll be a couple of outliers, but what they want is to get you onto their platform watching their stuff, and they don't really care if you pay attention or not. So if you want to make stuff where people have to sit there and pay attention, you're going to have to start thinking smaller, leaner, and meaner. And what I'm going to do this week is give you the skills that I think are going to be the foundation for what you are going to need going forward to make the work that you want to make in a way that is scalable, sustainable, and also teachable. The first skill, actually the first thing that we need to do is we have to make a decision. It's time to ask ourselves if we want to be filmmakers or we just want to be recognized as filmmakers. I'm going to be brutally honest. A lot of people like the way it looks when you're on Instagram and you have the picture of you behind the camera or pointing in different directions, and you're a filmmaker. You look like a filmmaker. It makes us feel good. We can brag to people like, oh, I'm a filmmaker. Look at this picture. Look at what I'm doing. But being a filmmaker, it's being a filmmaker. It's the day-to-day work that involves. Some of that is being on set, but most of the time it's not. Let's say you're making a feature film and it's a low budget one. That's 25 days of work, essentially. That's it. That doesn't count the days and hours spent writing the movie, fundraising for the movie, editing the movie, marketing the movie, selling the movie. That's most of what you're going to be doing, is all of that stuff. That's 90% of what being a filmmaker is everything outside of being on set. So if you don't like that stuff, then this is probably not something that you should do. And there's nothing wrong with that. I've done that in order to make money. I still do that now a lot. I edit things. Sometimes I produce things. I make budgets. Those are all things that aren't tied to me being on set that I still enjoy. Or, like I said in the beginning, work with a studio, make their stuff. That is what you'll be doing, is being on set, and decide whether that is what is going to fulfill your life. This is all about choices, and there's no wrong ones. You just have to make sure that if you want to say, I am a filmmaker, you enjoy doing all of the aspects that involve being one. And those are all the things that are not included with being on set. Being on set's the fun part, hopefully. Hopefully you like that. If you don't like being on set, then definitely find something else to do. But it's not all of what you do. And something that we have to also keep in mind is that the rush to get on set means that we are cutting corners other places. It feels great to be on set. It feels great to be there working with a team. It is a wonderful, sweet dopamine payoff that just makes us feel really good by the time the actual shooting is over. But if we cut corners, that means we are trying to either tone down the ambition or the scope of it so we can finish faster, which affects the quality. The trap is that when we do that, we tell ourselves that we're great because we work fast. And fast isn't always better. And once you are married to the concept of like, oh, we just work really fast, obviously you don't want to waste time, but fast doesn't always mean better. This also bleeds into the rest of the process where you find yourself rushing. You rush to get to set, which means you don't really take time to think of, okay, is the creative process that I'm thinking of actually good? Is this actually something that will make a difference? This is actually something that will be individual, or is it just, am I just making content? Am I just making something to say that I made it and then I get a pat on the back that says I made it? Did I just want to get to the finish line quickly so that way I can get the reward? That means I get to hold the statue, I get the recognition, I get to stand on the stage, hold my award, and thank my parents. When that's the goal, it never pays off. When you are creating something that will take months and years of planning and execution, the more you rush to get to the end, the worse it will be. And the odds of getting that recognition and winning that award spiral downwards because you are simply asking yourself this question: how can I get to the end? Instead of asking yourself, what is required? So I think going forward, we need to start asking ourselves, what is required? What is required to make what I am working on great? Ask that from the beginning so you set expectations for yourself. This applies not only to the making of the film, but also the team that you build around it, and also what you do with the film. Obviously, this will be tempered by the resources that you have access to, but I think we all have to embrace, this saying that we've been seeing everywhere, which is instead of saying I have to, say I get to. I get to take my time and make it great. I get to take the extra steps. I get to do the extra work because it will come out better. We need to stop working to be seen as filmmakers and actually just be them. So spend the extra time working on your script. Spend the extra time making storyboards. Spend the extra time in the edit. Spend the extra time connecting with more people. Spend extra time building up the team around it, because what we get to do is a privilege. There are not many people who try to do this who stick with it. I mean, I can point you to the film school class that I went to where I knew about 50 people studying film, and I'd say there's maybe like 5 of us that still do this. Whether we're crazy or not, that's a topic for another time. Our concern is the maximizing of excellence. We continue our push to keep going, keep building, keep networking, and keep sharing our authentic selves through our words and our work. So we have to realize that filmmaking is a craft that we seek to master. We seek to master the process of doing it, not master the process of getting attention for doing it. So with that being said, it's now time for us to make the right decision of whether we want to be filmmakers or whether we want to be seen as them. If you want to be a filmmaker, that means slowing down instead of speeding up. So that's the first thing. So in order to make the right decision, we got to get our minds right. We have to get back to being curious. We have ideas that pop into our heads as we observe the world around us, and our minds and our creations work as a way of understanding all of this chaos that happens every day. And the thing that we do is we soak it all in, but we neglect trying to understand how it influences the way that we see the world and the way that we think. I have recently begun seeing a therapist in an attempt to understand my own mind, to explore why I make the choices that I do, and also how to create better ones. And I definitely urge people to take up this practice. There's lots of different kinds of therapy. You don't necessarily have to sit down and talk to somebody. There's art therapy. I think there's even like dance therapy. There's lots of different kinds of therapy, but just something so that way you can have a third party get you out of your own head and can see the way your brain thinks from a 10,000 foot view. And by the way, this does not have to be expensive. I certainly am not paying like $500 a session for a therapist, at least in California, and hopefully in other states. There are plenty of different ways to get access to therapy without having to be independently wealthy. And if you would like me to explore some of those resources, I can look around and see what else is out there. But the goal of doing therapy is to confront and examine who we are, because as much as we are curious about the world, we have to be even more curious about the world going on inside of our heads. I think a great example of gaining perspective actually comes from the documentary Creative Force, which will be coming out in the next few months. It's a documentary about how artists in Ukraine are using their creative skills to help support the war against the Russian invasion. And the main character, his name is Rostislav, a young 20-something guy who him and a bunch of his friends decided to just start making and selling T-shirts in order to raise money for the soldiers. And there is a quote from one of the interviews that has just resonated with me as I've been working on this project, and it's kind of actually changed the way I think, which is he's sitting down for an interview and he says, "I don't have the possibility to think about the far future. I think only about this day. I think about what I can do today to help, because I think that I could do something for people." That really stuck with me because we live too far ahead. We are in too much of a rush and a panic to get to a further destination. And I've done this myself. I keep just thinking about, when I get to the end and how's it going to come together and how people are going to watch it when we're still stuck trying to write the thing. We're in the beginning of the process and I'm too far thinking about the end. Now, you have to have a plan. You have to know where it is you're heading, but you don't have to rush to get there. You just have to take it day by day and then stack those days together in order to make your tomorrow better than today was. So I've started just thinking to myself, what is it that I need to do today so that way tomorrow is better? Now, obviously, as a filmmaker, you have a lot of big dreams, big ambitions. I mean, we are dreamers. That is what we do, and we put it on screen for people. But we have to realize that those dreams and ambitions do not have to be realized tomorrow. Sometimes we get stuck in just the dreaming and we delay the hard work, the effort, the actual pain that is a necessary part of the present in order to realize those lofty ambitions that we have. But again, we have to stack days together. Really all that life is just a relentless pursuit of daily effort that compounds into realizing a goal. But reaching the goal isn't actually our aim as an artist. The aim and the focus of being an artist is just the constant pursuit of improvement, the ability to have a life where the work we're doing is the reward, because we're not focused on getting there. We're just focused on being here, being present where we are. And I know that people will say that it all comes back to gratitude. I mean, everything is gratitude. So we should all have like gratitude journals and a daily gratitude practice. And this can come off really hollow and self-serving. And it's a method of receiving. Like if I'm gracious and I have gratitude, then I will get this stuff. Like a productivity hack or like a way to insert X capitalist productivity effort into your daily schedule that maximizes your effort and profit and all that nonsense. So again, I think this all comes to slowing down, being thankful that you are getting to do what it is you dreamed of when you were a kid. Me having the ability to write the articles that I do, to speak into this microphone, to have some of you listen to it, to make things that people have watched. Those are things that 10 years ago I would not have imagined I would be doing or be in existence. I can tell you 10 years ago, I was trying to just make a movie, just one. Like that was the goal. Like, man, if I could just make one, no matter how long it is, that would be amazing. And then you start making more and more and it just becomes normal. And then you forget where you were before. So I think having that practice of gratitude it's not really patting yourself on the back. It's just taking a moment to reflect and say like, hey, I'm at a place now where I didn't imagine before. And this place now is a pretty wonderful place. I have another place that I'm trying to get to 5 years from now, 10 years from now. But I'm just going to be pretty amazed about this place that I am right now, which again is advice that I'm giving you that I don't always take myself. I tend to push things that I've done off to the side. Like, yeah, I did that and that wasn't that special. So something that I'm trying to do this year is just be more mindful of the things that I have accomplished and just take stock of where I am right now and accept that where I am right now is okay. And I think that's all we can do is accept that where we are, it might not be perfect. It could be better, but it's okay. And so with those mental skills, in effect, I want to talk about two things that I think are important as far as the technical aspect. Now, there's the mental aspect of filmmaking, which I think we need to get better at. And then there's a couple of technical things, which I think we all have to get better at. So there's a saying about making a film that is this: the battle is won in preparation. You wouldn't write a script without an ending, so do not make a film without an idea of how your post-process will work. Not just who's editing, but also what do they need to work efficiently? What is the equipment that we need? What are the required processes? How are we going to get the footage to them? How are we going to share the footage if we need to? How many people need to be on this? What decisions do we need to make in order to make this film work once we get into editing, both on a creative level and also on a logistical level? Now, YouTube has been a game changer for learning almost everything, and especially about post-production. There are a million channels where you can learn about almost every single aspect of editing that you can think of. Not just editing, but motion graphics, visual effects, all kinds of things. There's a lot of knowledge being shared out there. And even if you don't plan on being the one who is editing, knowing how to edit is important, because as filmmakers, our job is to be constantly learning. So learn everything about post-production that you possibly can. It is going to save you time. It is going to save you money. It is going to increase the quality because it's going to help you prepare better. You're going to be able to make a decision earlier on in the process because you know what it's going to look like once you get to the editing process. Because once you get to the editing process, you're stuck with what you got. And then you have to start making creative decisions in order to use what you have in order to make it work. And that's where a lot of people get disappointed or they get frustrated because they're like, man, if I had just done this differently, then by the time we got to the edit, then this would have worked out the way that I envisioned it. So learning about editing is learning about all the other steps. It's about getting better in all the previous steps. So prepare for the edit in the beginning and you will save yourself a lot of heartache. Now, I know the reality is that for a lot of us, we are working with limited funds. I imagine all of the people listening to this do not have access to millions of dollars. And if you do, you know where to find me and we should talk. So we are doing the best with the most that we have, which is always going to be less than what we need. There's an old saying in film production that whatever money you have, you will spend it. You will never have enough money. So we do what we can to get the best out of it. And knowing about post-production is only going to help the outcome of any single one of your projects. If you're working with limited resources, if someone is editing, you can assist them with their edit. Maybe you can help organize the project faster. If you're a really good editor, then maybe you can work on one scene while they work on another one. You can review footage and find things that they could use, and you'll know how it all works together. And then there's always the aspect of social media. I know we all hate it. We got into film in order to make movies and not be influencers, but reality is we have to be sharing the work that we do. Social media is regarded as proof of life for our careers. It's a place to share that not only that we're alive, but we're still doing stuff. Knowing how to edit those social media videos will just be all the better. It's going to help you. It's going to help your career. It's going to help the film. You can also use it as a place to experiment. Also, and maybe some of the things you experiment on the social media side, you can actually bring into the edit, and you can take things off of the plate of whoever's doing the actual editing. Remember, this is a team sport. And learning how to edit makes the team better because you can work together. You speak more of the language of the person who is going to be editing or the person who's going to be helping you edit. So that way you can collaborate together and you're spending less time going back and forth about whether something will or will not and more time thinking of different ways to accomplish the same thing. And the second technical skill is design, which is a process that filmmakers often overlook. Now, we will spend a lot of time on the design of the way a shot looks, on the production design and the way things are arranged inside of the frame. But we forget that design is the way that a film is made and also the way that a film is seen. And this comes in the form of your pitch deck, your website, and the events that you make. All of that comes to knowing the fundamentals of what makes good design. Think about it like this. Actually, do this right now. Sometime this week, go to a museum or an art gallery and just take note of what makes you stop. There will be a piece of art that will make you stop and just look at it. And I can almost guarantee that you will start creating a story inside of your mind. You'll be connected with that piece of art. And that is what makes good design. And that is the goal you are trying to accomplish in the beginning process when you are making your pitch deck. Your pitch deck is not there just to let people know about how great the movie is. The words are important, but the images are even more important, because the words combined with great design and great images start putting a story in the mind of the person looking at it of what it's going to look like and whether they resonate with it or not. Now, obviously everybody has access to Canva, and we can all make designs that are pretty good. We can make something that, looks acceptable, does not look amateurish. But the problem with that is that while it looks acceptable, it does not look exceptional. And in order to start actually making a film that stands out, your pitch deck has to look exceptional. An exceptional pitch deck means that you spent extra time and effort making sure that this represents your film without having shot anything. And if you don't put effort into your pitch deck, why should somebody put money into making your movie? You've given the impression that you really don't care, that this is not an important part of the process. And if you don't think that this is an important part of the process, what else are you not going to pay attention to because you don't think it's an important part of the process? Because everything in the process of making a movie is important. Even if you can't afford to have a professional make a deck for you, which I recommend highly, start it on your own and get feedback from people who are designers, graphic artists, everything. Don't have AI do it for you, please. Get feedback and make sure that the pitch deck is the best that it can possibly be, that you are putting your best foot forwards, because that is the first step in how you will treat the rest of the movie. And carry this over to your website. Every single movie needs to have a website. I know we have social media. That is a great way of gaining attention, but that attention is not your audience. Your audience are the people who go to your website and either purchase a ticket to see the movie, buy the movie, or give you their email address. Either way, you should be capturing their email addresses, because that is how you collect people who are excited about it. If somebody goes to your website and they plop down their email address because they like your movie, that is somebody who is actually excited about it. That is somebody who will actually champion it, go to see it, will be excited about it. Social media, let's just be honest, how many of you have looked at a social media link and then actually gone through the bio and then clicked on the thing and then watched it? Not a whole lot of you, but some do. And so how do you retain those people and get to know them? That's where a website is very important. And just like the pitch deck, that website has to be something that you put a lot of time and effort into designing, because that is going to be what convinces someone that, yeah, this is a movie that I should see. These people have spent a lot of time and work on it, so I want to know more. And again, if you can, hire a professional to design it or just get feedback. There are lots of different ways to design a website. So I recommend taking a look at websites that you like that have been done by professionals and seeing how you can get close to that and that are the right fit for the type of movie that you're making. But again, like the pitch deck is letting investors know that you're serious. A website is letting your audience know that you're serious about making something that is not just good, but exceptional. And the last thing is an event. Now, I know what you're thinking. What does an event have to do with design? And I'm going to tell you. I used to work in not only video production, but also live event production for the McDonald's Corporation. Back when I graduated film school, this was like one of the first big production jobs that I had out of film school. I was a production coordinator and sometimes a production assistant. And we spent a lot of time designing these events, like where the drapes were, where the lights were going to hit. It was a lot of corporate presentations, like quarterly reports, and they're kind of boring. But they would spend a lot of time designing the decks that you were going to see. And we would spend a lot of time, seeing how they would be projected onto the screen and where the people were. There was a lot of different elements that went into the design of this event. Now, my ideal for a screening of a movie, because I don't think that just screening a movie is enough anymore, because we have so much access to so much media, just going out and seeing the movie, especially if it's like not something that everybody knows about, if it's not like a big ticket from a studio, if it's just your movie, I think the best way to create an event is obviously you introduce yourself in the movie, screen the movie, have a Q&A where the audience is involved, make sure that they're asking questions, and have the questions be not just about the movie, but about the thing that the movie says. Like address the theme so you can have deeper conversations, and then have something else that's afterwards. That's obviously tied to the movie, but maybe it's a concert, maybe it's just like a party, maybe there's a DJ, something that really helps people remember the event. I know we want people to love the movie, but I think of the movie now as it's kind of the appetizer, which, we always remember great appetizers, but the meat of it is really the audience interaction. That's what I think makes a great event for a movie. And so with this, think about where you're holding the screening. Now, if you have a movie that's about, let's say by small town heroes who've done good, then obviously you don't want to have it at the large multiplex. You want to have it at a nice small theater. If you can place things in the venue that drive it home even better, like maybe you can light it a certain way. Maybe you can have artwork that goes in the walls. Maybe obviously you'll probably have a section like sell paraphernalia. Maybe you can play music as they're coming in. You want to be able to use design of lights, sound, artwork, music in order to get them in the right headspace when they watch it. It's almost like the film before the film. My favorite theater is the Alamo Drafthouse, and this is what they do before they screen every single movie that they have. They'll find little shorts that are related to the movie you're about to see, and it kind of puts you in the mood and gets your mind set for what you're about to witness. And it's all these little details that create a memorable event, which then, if somebody remembers the event, they're going to tell somebody else, like, hey, I went to see this movie, and this happened, and this happened, and this happened. I think it's playing this time. You should go check it out. And all of that springs from design. So, putting all this together, I think the way for non-dependent filmmakers going forward lies through this concept: the right presentation mixed with the right attitude. Every film at every stage has an audience, and we want to look at what is required for us to look exceptional for that audience. It first starts with the people who are supporting your film before you've shot anything or even planned anything. These are your investors. These are your collaborators. These are the people who you're bringing on. Think of them as your audience. And then start thinking about the actual audience who's going to watch the movie. The movie starts with you making what you want to see. But as the process goes along and you start bringing other people along who are aligned with the vision, it becomes a shared vision that you, the filmmaker, are shepherding into existence. So start from the beginning, get it right, get better, and show up for the people who will be inspired by the work that you are creating together. And hopefully you will inspire them to not only create great work of their own, but to also act in a different way as they go out into the world. Thank you for listening. Keep all these skills in mind. The two mental ones of having the right attitude, making the right choice about what being a filmmaker actually is, and the technical skills of learning about editing and design. Marry all that together, and this year with whatever you're making, you'll find that it's even better by the time you get to the end. Thanks, and I will talk to you next week.